Okay, so just a very quick introduction to a journey that brought me as an artist who could have been a scientist if the education system was the way it should be, and hopefully the way it becomes. In the 70s, I grew up in New York City, and my father, Yugoslavian, doesn't exist anymore, the country, he was shocked that everybody was saying that electricity was invented by Edison, and they never heard of Tesla. So he became obsessed to help educate people about Tesla, and in the process, we met his family and learned so much about his work, and I was absorbing this through osmosis. And I remember seeing this photograph as a 12-year-old kid and just being amazed, and I still am actually to this day. Cut to, my first art-science collaboration was, I got married to a nuclear physicist, and we we had two beautiful girls. Otherwise, the collaboration has failed. And our first project together was looking for cosmic rays that hit the Cheops pyramids. And I was just amazed at how matter-of-fact people, scientists, were talking about cosmic rays hitting the pyramids, and then wherever they hit a spot where they couldn't pass through, there must something be there. Actually, it was a Japanese group that was working. And yeah, I mean, right now we're being hit by cosmic rays, and if you go to a nanolab, they do everything to protect themselves from cosmic rays. But they talk about it as a nuisance, and I thought it was amazing. I still do. I happened to meet some amazing people that really made me feel that scientists were so much more interesting than the art world, and two that I brought out to Glenn Seaborg, who told me about how he announced the his discovery of a new element, Seaborgian, on the radio. So in the 1940s, they had this quiz, and they were asking, what is the element? And that's how I announced it, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a kind of a way where science started entering into public culture. And then Murray Gell-Mann, who I had the privilege to talk to a number of times, was just incredible in the breadth of interests, including quarks, of course. So that, I did a number of interviews of scientists at that time. My work was completely separate, but I was searching, I was educating myself because I was not educated in science. So these series of interviews ended up bringing me to being recommended for a project to work with Stephen Hawking on a CD-ROM, and this was in '92. And it was an absolutely amazing experience to see how technology actually created this person to be able to communicate. He was truly like a cyborg, but it also made me realize the idea of time. So if I say hello, which made me really realize how much we take for granted the speed at which our thoughts work, the speed at which I generate my thoughts, put them out into words, and you receive them and respond to me. So it was more about that than even what we were doing with the CD-ROM. I started researching more, and one of the articles I read from Dr. Donald Ingber was really seminal to me. I reread it occasionally. It's about the structure of nature and the universal structure of nature, which led me to Buckminster Fuller, and that was really my main topic for a PhD that I was doing under Roy Ascott, who was honored last year. Not to talk too much about it, but Buckminster Fuller brought me to the Buckminster Fullerene. So I came to it from a completely different angle, from going from science. I actually came through it through culture. And this is the US Pavilion that was that Bucky built, and the reason the third carbon molecule is called Buckminster fullerene is because they actually managed to decipher it by their fascination, Smoley and Kroto, with the structure of this pavilion. So jumping again a decade, you see DARNA, Digital Arts Research Network in the University of California. I organized a symposium called Networks to Nanosystems in 2001, very soon after the 9/11. And I really wanted to ask the question, what does it mean? Very few people came. And everybody was, what is nanotechnology? And what does it have to do with art? I wanted to bring people to the table that were not just artists and theorists, but also scientists. And I was recommended to a scientist who just recently, at that time, arrived to UCLA, Jim Jimjevsky, from the IBM Zurich lab that was actually a Nobel Prize lab for setting up the scanning tunneling microscope. He came immediately, and we became partners, actually, did a number of works together, and this was the meeting became like very much on equal level at the very beginning, because he was researching Buckminster fullerenes or buckyballs at IBM for years, and they got a Nobel Prize about it. They never heard of Buckminster Fuller. So I felt really like, okay, we can talk, because I have something to teach you too. And so we did this. This is the world's smallest abacus that he created out of molecules, which I thought was very cool. But I wasn't very interested in doing it in nanoscale. So what you see here is my shadow with a buckyball that's the size of a building. And then we collaborated with Tibetan monks on doing a nanomandala. We collaborated on pieces with cell sonics and yeast in water, fascinating stuff. Did a project with butterflies, the blue morph, and it was shown all over the place. And then I just wanted to show a few people that I've had a long-term relationship with, starting very much with friendships. And I really insist that the only way this art and science can work is if it's long-term relationships. They can be close, they can be friendships, but it's really about a human level first, disciplinary second. So this is, you may recognize David Familian, who's in the audience, who asked me to do a new piece when I was showing in his gallery. And I was very interested how weather patterns that are very drastic right now are related to a lot of human issues. How are the refugee problems related to the climate change? Are we actually having some kind of brain collective things going on? Dr. Mark Cohen is very well known, a neuroscientist. He actually went ahead and said, yeah, I'm interested in this. I figured out that in their lab, they use aluminum foil. So we did some brainstorming sessions. And we took it to Marseille, and we did more brainstorming sessions at IMERA with Dr. Constance Hammond, who's a fabulous scientist too. And this is Siddharth Ramakrishnan, who I've been collaborating with for 7-8 years now. We did a number of great projects with really close friends. We did the dog sniffing game. Notice how it looks like a brain. We did we have been working on developing the Hawk's Zodiac based on the Chinese Zodiac genetic game that's a dinner table, actually. So we are doing a bunch of different dinners and discovering about Chinese culture, which is really fascinating in relation to I Ching and John Cage. It's just been a fascinating discovery. So to end with, the most recent collaborations is with Dr. Charles Taylor, who I have known now for 10 years at UCLA, but it was always friendly. And he approached me about a project he was doing with birds, mapping acoustic network of birds. And he's working with Takashi Ikegami at the University of Tokyo, who's in artificial life and also collaborates with sound artists. And we did a piece together. So I'm just going to zoom through it because we don't have time. This was most recently in Times Square, where you imitate the sounds of birds. and then in New York at Governor's Island. I very much believe in education. I think that the art science is temporary, and the new generation actually will not have any difference, and they would. It's already starting to happen. I see it in the youngsters born in '96 and '97. That was my last group. Wow. And they just, it's so natural. It's really the institutions that are the problem. So we do a bunch of workshops. We have undergraduate societies. We have art science social events, exhibitions, undergraduate classes, and I teach. These are the students in my last class, just to give you a sense of where they come from. So the disciplines that are attracted to art and science is so amazing. And it's just impossible to even predict who's going to do the really good artwork. So the only differentiation of what is art and what is not is whether it can actually be made or not. If it cannot be made, it's art. If it's made, it's science. All right, thank you.